So we're meeting with Ivan Ruiz. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And
Got it.
I'm making sure that all my pronunciations are correct. I'm around all the Spanish Suzas, and now we get to talk about Maserati, and this is exciting. So Ivan, please introduce yourself.
Okay. I'm Ivan Ruiz, and I've been collecting cars now for about 40 years. And I have a website called The Car Nut, so that kind of tells you a little about myself, thecarnut.com.
And Ivan is going to be joining us at the Cortile at the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix this July. And he's going to be talking a little bit about one of his favorite marques, which is Maserati.
Yes.
So I was hoping you could give us a little bit about how your interest, you're wearing an Iso, lovely.
Yep.
I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit where your interest came in to cars in general, but then how your focus of Maserati came about, like where your passion for that came about.
Okay. So I'll start with my interest in cars.
Okay.
And the interest in cars was I was driving home one day out of work, from work, going home, and in the rain, I saw next to me there was a Jaguar E-Type. And it had a for sale sign, and the individual had his arm stuck out the window cleaning the windshield because obviously the wipers weren't working. But I was able to catch the phone number, and I called the next day and I saw the car. And this was my first time I was looking at a car that I was not going to be using every day for transportation.
Yes.
For transportation, my first toy. Long story short, the car was sold before I bought it. But now that I look back, that was not a bad decision because as I learned about Jaguars later on, that particular car was not exactly the best buy. But what happened was about 2 or 3 months later, I did find another Jaguar E-Type, and I got in love with it. And to make a long story short, about 100 E-Types later.
Okay.
One thing about me, I don't do things in moderation. So I got very involved with the club and judging Jaguars and researching them and buying them, fixing them up, selling them. And that's how I started with cars.
Okay. And I can see where the Jaguar kind of continues into an Italian body car. I mean, obviously Enzo says that Jaguar is, the most beautiful car produced.
Go ahead.
So, you ended up at Maserati.
By chance.
Okay.
It was, okay. So the story continues. So I was looking for, by then I had a network.
Right.
I would call people and say, do you know of any Jaguar E-Types? So anyway, I talked to this mechanic once. He said, I don't, but I do know of some Maserati that is sitting up in the hills. And this was back in my native Puerto Rico. And one thing about Puerto Rico, it had some very interesting cars hidden somewhere. So he said, let's go and take a look. I had no idea anything about Maserati. So I look at this car. It was a 1965 Maserati Sebring.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So I look at it. I said, well, I have no idea what this thing is. Did a little research. They said, well, it's very limited production. How much is it? $4,500? So, okay. So I bought it. It's like I had no idea what I was getting into. So that's how I got into Maseratis.
And you've gone deep into Maserati.
And then, I said, remember what I said about I don't do things in moderation?
Yeah.
So later on, I kind of found that they had different models. There was something called the Ghibli. So I did what most sane person would do, which is I bought one side and singing out of Belgium.
Okay.
I've never driven one or anything. So that's how I got into Maserati Ghiblis. And about 75 Maseratis later, I'm now deep into Maseratis.
So you'll be in Geneva right before the Grand Prix in July, I believe. So.
I'm going to be in Sweden.
Oh,
yeah. They have the Maserati Annual Rally is in Sweden this year.
Okay.
So I'll be there.
And then you're coming right over to see us.
And then then we do some touring, and then come over to see you. Yeah.
So can you give us a sneak preview, a little bit about the presentation that you're doing there?
Well, don't want to give too much away, but Maserati, people compare it with Ferrari, and for obvious reasons. Because in the early days, they were very fierce competitors, both on the racetrack and also on selling cars. When the Maserati Ghibli came out, and it was competing with the Daytona, the Ghibli was actually priced a little higher than the Daytona, and both sold about the same number. So both of them did extremely well to the same market. Where Ferrari has succeeded is they have the best marketing that you could ever imagine. Their brand equity is tremendous.
They make more money on merchandise than they do selling cars.
And I give them credit because they are really good at what they do. So it's kind of amazing that Maserati actually exists, because one of the things that I'll talk about is the many times it went under. It seems like it's one of these brands that keeps on having problems and somehow keeps on coming back.
Yeah, it's. Even early history. If you look at Five brothers working together.
That by itself is a problem.
You make it through that to begin with. Just the family issues that can crop up that everybody knows is going to crop up. And I think that each change that's happened has sometimes made them stronger. Like they come back stronger each time.
Yeah, Maserati started making spark plugs and batteries. That's their background.
Right.
And the racing thing, because the brothers really love to race. So the batteries and spark plugs was funding their racing efforts. But they weren't interested in selling cars. That was not what they wanted to do. So what happens when you don't sell cars? Well, you go under.
Right.
Racing is expensive. So that's, kind of what happened. And then the Orsi family came in, they bought him, and, that changed Maserati over time to become more, let's start producing cars. Let's start generating some income here. So that's kind of the history of Maserati.
Ron, we look forward to seeing you this summer.
We'll do.
In July, and enjoy the show here.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye.